And welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter. Sorry for the scuffle about a second. I keep forgetting. This thing keeps changing. My mic. Sorry, Adequate, which is me, the Adequate host of Pride of Detroit PODcast. I'm Chris Perfett. As I said, the Adequate host at PERFE, Chris PERFETT. I'm so adequate right now. I'm really off my game to start this. This is the Pride of Detroit PODcast, where
Or are you on your game?
This is very important. That's an important distinction. Both things are true at the same time. This is the Pride of Detroit PODcast. We talk about Lions football. I screw everything up, and the other two guys basically carry my dead ass through this. So you can watch the podcast live on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit or on YouTube. Search for Pride of Detroit. Download the podcast as always on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get podcasts. And we're here on the week before free agency. Plenty of news to talk about. We've already seen the Lions make some moves to cut guys and some juicy conversations to have, some words from Dan Campbell, and we are starting to lean back into our off-season mailbag to carry the show and carry topics that you guys want to hear. But first, let's get the rest of the crew in here. That, as always, is the fearless leader of Pride of Detroit, Jeremy Reisman, managing editor of Pride of Detroit at Detroit Online on Twitter. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, and please refer to me by my new title, Editor-in-Chief.
Oh, that's right, Editor-in-Chief, right. Again, I'm still waiting for that new title besides Adequate Host. But
we're working on it.
We're working on it. We have to very carefully carve out the nameplates for the desks and everything that we just do not have.
Everything we do is done very carefully.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
No, I'm not. I don't. As you were nodding on a non-visual medium. Third man, the rock god, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. How are we doing, Ryan?
Two things. One, this neck beard that's growing in ever since I shaved for charity, not a good look. Number two,
you keep the mustache. You don't need to keep the neck beard.
Yeah, but I don't want to keep shaving it because I don't want to keep a mustache. I'm sure Jeremy understands this nasty dilemma of maybe it'd be nice to have other facial hair, but you can't go full mustache with just some scruff. I don't know, whatever looks dumb. Number two, man, I wish I could turn down the kind of money that Kenny Golladay did, huh?
That's beautiful money to turn down. That is. So let me get this straight. So as reports are out that Kenny Golladay, I wasn't expecting to start here. We talked a lot of Kenny Golladay in the last few weeks. We're not going to linger too much on this, but Kenny Golladay reportedly has turned down, I believe, $18 million from the Detroit Lions, somewhere between 18 and 19 million per Adam Schefter.
And that was last year.
ESPN.
To be clear, not right now. That was last year when they were going.
That was last year.
Yes,
that was last year. So that was with the Boston boys and everything. And there's some questions if he's going to even get the franchise tag this year, Jeremy.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because really when the offseason started, it seemed like it was trending in the opposite direction. You had guys like Ian Rappaport out there saying he'd be surprised if it doesn't happen. You had Dave Burkett saying it's a no-brainer move. And now the tide seems to be turning the other way. And we probably shouldn't talk about it very long because literally by the time I end this sentence, something could potentially happen. And the deadline is currently set for Tuesday at 4 p.m. But then there's also news that the franchise tag deadline might move because they haven't set a salary cap yet. And so no one knows what this franchise tag number is. So basically, things seem to be trending in the opposite direction with Kenny Golladay, where we're not sure he's going to necessarily be back, whether it be on a franchise tag or an extension. But at this point, we still don't really know. We'll get into what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell said later, but they didn't really tip their hand either. So I think the most interesting thing, though, is Kenny Golladay turned down really top 10 money, top 10 wide receiver money, almost top 5 wide receiver money in last year, and that's it's interesting. I mean, I at that point, I don't think any of us can turn around and blame Bob Quinn for not getting a deal done last year because that's pretty much, I think, the cap of what anyone was willing to pay for him last year.
Yeah, that's a story as old as time in the NFL, Ryan. Kenny Golladay basically bet on himself. He bet on himself that he could do even. The Lions, I thought, set that bar very high last year, and he decided, no, I can do better. He bet on himself, and I think between the injury that kind of took him out for a lot of time last season, not a lot of play from last season, he kind of hurt himself on that bet.
Yeah, I mean, two things happened, right? He started slow because of the hamstring injury,
Mm-hmm.
and then that hip injury. But man, you know what? Kenny Golladay was probably feeling pretty good about himself after like that Jacksonville game. Like he was probably like, you know what? I made the right decision turning down that money. I am a top 5 wide receiver. I deserve to get paid like, I not like I get, I deserve to get paid as DeAndre Hopkins does, as Julio Jones does, as Amari Cooper, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, those guys that he would have been just beneath if Kenny Golladay would have accepted an $18 to $19 million per year contract. But yeah, that hip and missing all that time that season, I'd have to be surprised that if this new regime is coming in with numbers like that, because if they were coming in with numbers like that, I'm sure Kenny Golladay would sign a deal immediately. So, yeah, and the other thing that's so weird about this too, Jeremy, and I never really thought about it until the report came out from Graziano about pushing the franchise tag designation back without a salary cap even being established. Like that like we should have all thought of that. Like, why are we putting the cart before the horse?
Yeah, I mean, we still don't really have a number yet. And from what I read, like the NFL and the NFLPA are kind of at disagreements over it. The NFLPA kind of wants to wait until this potential new TV deal gets done, Jeremy, with the networks out there, which could we've talked about this prior, it could significantly boost the salary cap number.
Yeah. I think everyone is still kind of expecting that number to be somewhere between 180 and 185 million, but without knowing what that number is, you can't set franchise tag numbers, so you don't know how much the franchise tag is. You don't know what percentage of the salary cap that is because you don't know the salary cap. So it's really just a waiting game right here for everyone, and hopefully by the time that you're hearing this, if you're not watching live, you'll know what at least the franchise tag numbers are, which or when the franchise tag deadline is. I mean, it's all just kind of hanging in the balance here, and meanwhile we're just wondering why Kenny Golladay didn't, or his agent didn't at least foresee some of the troubles that COVID would bring to the salary cap and be like, maybe I should get paid right now instead of next offseason, because I don't know if there's going to be a ton of huge deals this offseason, or maybe not as much as there were in previous years.
Yeah, I don't think they could have necessarily seen that, because maybe. I mean, nobody knew what COVID was going to be as far as like where this was trending, like, or if stadiums would open back up, or even how much the NFL would take just because of TV deals. And again, that new TV deal was always waiting in those wings too. I just think that they kind of expected it to be done sooner. I don't know, but you know what you can do without waiting for knowing what the franchise tag is, start making some cuts, because you're at least going to be a little bit over the cap. In the case of the Lions, they're not, we talked about this on a previous podcast, they're not in a bad situation, nor are they really one of those teams where there's a bunch of contracts where you can just shuffle them around and just proudly say the salary cap doesn't exist, which I'm starting to believe. I'm starting to believe the salary cap doesn't exist, Brian, because I'm watching what some of these other teams like the Saints are doing, where we were like, oh my God, what's going on with the Saints? And just every day they seem to magically make another 10 million from their number just disappear. It's really something.
Yeah, it's some cap gymnastics that are definitely happening in New Orleans.
Cap necromancy.
There's some going on here in Detroit too, and I know it hasn't been made official yet, but the Desmond Trufant impending release, the Lions are going to cut him. I saw something interesting from Justin Rogers though, about potentially them floating Trufant as a name that they might try to trade. I doubt that there's going to be any takers because of that cap figure, but they would save a little bit of money if they traded him rather than just outright releasing him. But that's, I mean, almost as done as done can be. Jeremy, how do you feel about the Lions moving on from Desmond Trufant? It was just like an inevitable, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of an unfortunate pairing that never worked out. I think all of us pretty much, I saw this as like the number one move that the Lions basically had to do. $6.2 million in savings is a significant amount. You're taking on a fair amount of dead money there. I think upwards of $4 million or so. But at this point, you're just not getting that sort of production out of them. And even if you were, there's really no point in it. Like you want to get those young guys out there. You want to get Amani Oruwari and Jeff Okudah out there. And Desmond, like, I think it works out best for Desmond Trufant. Obviously, he's not going to get necessarily the big payday with the big salary he was due to take, but he can go find somewhere else where maybe he has a chance at a ring at his age. And so it was just a move that really needed to happen for both sides, and hopefully there's not any hard feelings. It was like what we mentioned in previous podcasts, signing him was always a desperation move to replace Darius Slay. It didn't work out, and now the Lions are cutting bail, and it's not no harm no foul necessarily, but it's not that big of a deal with the dead cap.
Yeah, and I think it does. He was a guy kind of brought in by a previous regime. You kind of see these all the time, guys, especially if it's just a 1-year deal like that. Guys, a new guy coming in is like, I don't really, there's no reason for me to keep him around. It does make things interesting, I think, with the cornerback position. The Lions also today re-signed Mike Ford, who I believe, Jeremy, was an exclusive rights free agent.
No, just a restricted free agent.
Just a restricted free agent.
Yep.
Excuse me. So they made him a deal. He accepted it there. They're bringing Mike Ford back, so that's at least one cornerback on the roster. You kind of hope you have Jeff Okudah get out of the couple of years of malaise that he's had with this team. I mean, the time he's had the malaise with the team, and turn into something. Have his sophomore year do a lot better than his rookie year. To say the least.
Sure.
You're going to have Harmon, I believe. No, Harmon's not under contract. Excuse me.
Basically the team only has Coleman is currently on the team. He's definitely a cap casualty nominee. And then, I mean, basically your two starters are, like I said, Amani Oruwariye and Jeff Okudah, and you hope the guys brought in Aaron Glenn as their defensive coordinator, a former defensive back, is on his own. They bring in Aubrey Plaza. You just hope these guys get coached up, and
especially Okudah, when you invest the 3rd overall pick into him, like you're kind of hoping that that's not going to bust out.
Yeah, but I mean, cornerbacks take time. Darius Slay took time. I mean, it's not a rule that applies to necessarily everyone, but the general rule is it takes a while for cornerback. And now I think the Lions have a coaching staff that can accommodate a young set of players, and that's what you want to do in a season where you're probably not going to compete for a Super Bowl. Develop those young players.
Say his name, Jeremy. I want to see how many podcasts in a row you can say his name. I'm totally on board with bringing him back, but just say that you want Darryl Roberts back.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, inside, outside, versatility. He can play the slot. He can play the outside. He's good depth. Mike Ford is good depth. I mean, if those are your top 4 cornerbacks this year, Amani Oruwariye, Jeff Okudah, Mike Ford, and Darryl Roberts. I mean, you still need to fill out the depth with a couple of special teams pieces and things like that, but you could do worse than that.
It's also not taking Justin Coleman into account, which it's just going to be really interesting whether or not the Lions decide to keep him or not. And I don't know. He's not playing up to his value.
No.
So he seems like he's a surefire cap casualty, but at the same time, I'm okay with those 4 guys you just named, but maybe you bet on Justin Coleman being, somewhat of the player you thought you were getting when Bob Quinn signed him. I don't know.
I need to jump in here real quick because Twitch chat is making fun of me because I called him Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Pleasant. My apologies to the Lions defensive backs coach.
Would be kind of, why does that name sound familiar?
It's an actress.
Parks and Rec, right?
Parks and Rec, yeah.
Parks and Rec, that's what it is. Okay,
Yeah.
Wow. Good stuff. Yeah. Everybody, people will call from IG. Jeremy can get away with those things, obviously. Also, I know you just wrote your profile today. Speaking of the backfield, we haven't started talking safeties, but you're kind of in favor of Miles Killebrew too.
Special teamer. I mean, I know they're
safe to get a Killebrew jersey.
Sure, why not? I mean, he was the NFLPA representative last year, so he's got leadership in the locker room. He's a guy who's been, I mean, one of the most unheralded special teams aces on the team, part of all 4 kind of return and coverage teams, and should come fairly cheap. I'm not one of these people that's like, well, maybe with this defensive back minded coaching staff, maybe there's a reclamation project there to have him contribute on defense. No, I don't. I think we're past that at this point. But he's a good special teamer, and you need those.
Yeah. So one of the other things that did happen this week as well, too. So the Desmond Trufant, not official yet. What is official is Christian Jones being cut as the linebacker position continues to look very, let's just say, interesting right now. Which I know this team probably isn't going to draft linebacker, and they probably shouldn't, but or at least in round one, I should say. But still, like this is a team that absolutely needs linebacker help right now, and yeah, Christian Jones cutting him probably the right decision. I believe you save about $2.5 million against the cap, but I guess the question as I'm looking around this free agent class is who are you going to bring in for linebacker?
I mean, it's tough, right? Like, the answer was never Christian Jones, though, right? I mean,
yeah, it was never Christian Jones.
It was the biggest head scratcher, maybe, of the entire Bob Quinn era when they handed him an extension in the middle of the 2019 season, and he's the reason why the Lions are going to have to take on over $2 million in dead cap on Christian Jones this year, because they gave him that extension through 2021. It was a move again. It just kind of happened. Christian Jones isn't the type of linebacker that this team is looking for. He's a liability in coverage. He doesn't provide a ton as a run defender, but if he doesn't provide any as a pass rusher. So like the one thing he does well is the one thing that we know the Lions value, which is the previous regime valued, I should say, which is stopping the run. But he wasn't even that dynamic of a player there. So the Lions are going to move forward with Jamie Collins, and we're going to get into why that's going to be in a second here. But everyone else, I think, is just kind of on thin ice. You got Jalen Reeves-Maybin as a free agent, potentially. You got Jared Davis as a free agent. But they need to find someone to replace Christian Jones, because even though he was a bad player, he took up a lot of snaps, and so someone is going to have to take up that spot. Reggie Ragland is another free agent, so it's going to be a linebacking core in flux. But this is a move that, again, I think we all kind of just saw coming.
I'll just go ahead and say it, and I'll wait for Ryan's reaction. Kyle Van Noy? Question mark.
I don't even want to dignify that with a response. Those guys are gone, So the Kyle Van Noy reclamation reunion project is gone and has retreated back to New England. So maybe he'll go back to New England, and that'll be good for him.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. But speaking of linebacker, Jeremy, you had an interesting article go up about potential connections to other players based on like the coaching changeover with the Lions, and you gave out 5 names. One of the names that I thought was really interesting and I think would be a huge upgrade for the Lions would be Denzel Perryman from the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think that depending on the price tag, and that's the thing with this, is that the Lions are cutting all these players, but they don't have the cap space to start signing like premier top level, top shelf talent. So that's where this waiving spree that's going on in the NFL, or that is going to happen. I mean, you're seeing guys like Joyner getting cut today from the Raiders. There are all these players that could potentially live up to a new deal, but the Lions don't have the resources to bring these players in. So any of those names from that article that you wrote today stand out?
Yeah, I mean, Denzel Perryman is the best when it comes to talent and connection. He's, like you said, he's with the Chargers for the past 4 years alongside Anthony Lynn. But I mean, you're probably paying upwards of $6-7 million a year for a guy like him, which might not be in the Lions' kind of wheelhouse right now. So I think, it's not a great group. The free agency linebacking group is not very good, and I know the draft class is just kind of okay as well. But I mean, a guy like Neville Hewitt, I think, is maybe one that's kind of intriguing to me. His connection to the Lions is kind of tenuous. He was with the Dolphins in 2015 when Campbell was the interim head coach. But he's a guy that kind of springboarded recently, played all 16 games with the Jets, started and had 134 tackles. And I know tackles not the greatest source of talent necessarily in terms of statistics, but I think he's cheap. He's someone that could come with depth and maybe have starting potential here. If I'm being honest, though, like I think the Lions they bring back. They're obviously bringing back Jamie Collins, and then I mean, do we want to talk about Jared Davis and how much Dan Campbell seems to really like him?
Well, we can't. Let's save that for next segment. We're kind of over here. I want to get to one more thing before we jump to the next thing, but I think that's probably a good place to talk about Jared Davis on the other side.
Sure.
Is the thing you want to talk about Jelani Tavai?
No, I do not want to talk about Jelani Tavai. Thank you very much. I also want to save JV Collins' contract for the other side.
Okay.
But
You
I want to talk about Chase Daniels.
I knew it.
Daniel singular. I'm sorry. I keep doing that. Yeah, no, this is fascinating to me. So Lions have let everyone know that they're shopping around Chase Daniel. Probably doesn't get you more than a 7th rounder. I do know that it would. The difference, I think, Ryan, is basically you're basically saving more money if you trade him versus cut him. You'd save $2.3 million if he's cut. You'd save $3.8 if he's traded.
Yeah. And the reasoning for that, really quick, if you're interested in the details of that, it's because $1.5 million of his salary in 2021 is guaranteed. So the team that takes him on will take on the guaranteed salary. Otherwise, all the guaranteed bonuses, that accelerates to the Lions. But if it's guaranteed salary, that moves to the next team. So that's where the extra $1.5 million is coming from.
I feel like it's almost too much to ask a team to take on and also give up like a 7th rounder, but I could potentially see it, Ryan, just because the market right now for quarterback, even someone on a backup, seems very incoherent right now across the entire NFL.
Yeah, I'll say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say it. If Brad Holmes is able to find a trade partner for Chase Daniel, it's better than the Matthew Stafford trade.
Wait, I do not agree there. I do not agree there, but it would be a miracle if he did pull it off. He would have some sort of psychic powers to get someone to agree to that. It's like, you take our poo and also give us something in return.
If he got a 6th round pick for Chase Daniel, I would be naked down Woodward right now.
God, I don't want that to happen.
Too late to crown him executive of the year.
Yeah, right. No, but seriously,
I
I don't know why teams would be interested in Chase Daniel. I understand that, I understand the backup quarterback who you're hoping the only thing he does is scout team and hopes to prepare you for whatever team you're playing on Sunday. But Chase Daniel offers you absolutely nothing as an actual player. And so that's why he just doesn't make any sense for the Lions, right? Because for a team that's looking for viable options moving forward at quarterback, Jared Goff included, David Blau included, Chase Daniel doesn't fit that mold. And we talked about that on earlier podcasts. So I'm just wondering who around the league has the kind of draft capital to just throw a draft pick away and be like, sure, we'll take a glorified coach for a draft pick in this salary cap. In this salary cap?
in this economy? I don't know about their draft capital, but I do at least have one team in mind that I could potentially see who could probably use that backup. I'm just pulling up their depth chart right now to make sure I'm not completely out of my element, but the Los Angeles Chargers, if they're not holding on to Tyrod Taylor, I mean, they've got Easton Stick, but they need that kind of veteran backup to stand behind Justin Herbert.
No, I think you're onto something there. I think the landing place for a guy like him is a young quarterback, is someone with either a rookie or a 2nd or 3rd year quarterback. And so the question is, he's got a $4.3 million base salary. That's not insignificant for a backup. That's a pretty significant backup quarterback. And it's $5 million the next year. And so, the team will be able to get out of it after 1 year if they don't like it. But $4.3 million is a lot to pay, especially if 1.5 of it is guaranteed. So I don't see this happening. I think the Lions are just throwing that out there, hoping that someone ignores all the Twitter things like he's only made, he's making $2 million per completion or whatever that silly stat is throughout his career. But I don't foresee it happening.
No, but I think this is basically, in my mind, it's still due diligence. You might as well just go ahead and see what you can get anyway. And again, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. I will not run naked down Woodward like Ryan, but if it does happen, I'm not going to be completely shocked.
How about can you run naked down like Sepulveda then? You don't have to come all the way here.
I'm off Winnick. You know what? Yeah, my work is at Ventura and Sepulveda.
There you go. Yep.
You pick one. You pick one in Van Nuys, and I'll do that.
Yeah. The thing with Chase Daniel is he just doesn't bring anything to the table. So,
well, no,
but the one other thing I want to say is this is really analogous to the Desmond Trufant thing, right? This is Desmond Trufant hasn't been officially released because the Lions could save some of the guaranteed money by trading him. They're not going to find a trade partner, just like they're not going to find a trade partner for Chase Daniel, because if they do, I am doubling down again, and I am saying that it would be a better return in the realm of understanding what's going on to trade Chase Daniel.
I just think, again, it's a weird market right now for quarterback that extends not just for the top quarterbacks, but for the bottom ones as well. And there's going to be a lot of teams are turning over quarterbacks. Some of these guys are going to be new or young, be it Tua, be it Lawrence in Jacksonville. And I'm assuming they're taking Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. They'd be idiots not to. Whoever lands Zach Wilson, you're going to need a veteran backup. That's just the conventional wisdom. And to be honest, there's a lot of journeyman out. There's not a lot of journeyman quarterbacks out there to do the veteran backup role anymore. I think it's kind of a dying, because we're getting this generation of weird fail quarterbacks that's kind of coming in between. I don't know. Maybe I haven't adjusted in my radar to those names like Chase Daniel and Matt Flynn, who we always see on a roster somewhere.
Jaguars is an interesting one too, because Darrell Bevell's there.
Yes, that is a very good point too. All right. I think that's enough on Chase Daniel. I enjoyed that thoroughly, though. I just want to get that out of the way. When we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast, we're going to talk about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are both in addressing the press this week. I know that on the Pat McAfee show, Dan Campbell made a pretty big appearance over there, and there was a lot of interesting tidbits to go through there. We're also going to talk about the Jamie Collins restructured contract. And later on the show, we do have a mailbag. So if you are right now watching us live on Twitch or on YouTube, get those questions. We'll try to field them alongside the ones we've gotten from Twitter or from our thread, #AskPOD, if you want to get in a future mailbag, because we're going to do a lot of them through the off season. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back and talk about Dan Campbell and the Pat McAfee show. We'll talk about Jamie Collins. We'll talk about, everything we've gleaned from that, needs going into the draft. A lot of juicy tidbits to talk about when we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast.
Who died? Was it Craig or Giark?
It was Giark, as always.
No, it was Craig.
It was Craig.
No, that's what I meant to say. I'm sorry. I'm
my
dyslexic.
Goodness.
Let me try to get him back in here. And if it doesn't happen, then we'll just...
Does a trade have to have anything in return? Can you just give him away? I don't care. I think 7th conditional is really what you're expecting.
Even if it's like the right to pick swap in the 7th round in a future draft.
Yeah, it's literally just trying to dump and get the maximal saving out of it.
What if you pick swap down? What if you trade Chase Daniel and a 6th for a 7th in return?
Do it to save money.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Just throwing it out there.
Craig hates POD cast. He hasn't done it in a while. Like Craig's been good for a few weeks.
I'm sure Chase Daniel's a nice person.
You had to make sure you got that one off air.
You already discussed Ryan's mailbag running down Woodward Avenue. Great. Thanks.
Let me catch up on alerts here really quick. Dang O'Reber, thank you for the 7-month subscription here on Twitch. Then we got a whole bunch of follows today. It's Sarah, Reg Addison, the Honolulu Blue, and James Gullett from Twitter. Thank you all for the follows. Appreciate it. Can we tag Golladay, trade him if unsuccessful? Rescind of the tag? Rescinding the tag. I have to look into the details of what that entails. But I don't think it's as simple as like just placing it though, and then you can take it away. We don't have a 6th or a 7th. That's a good point. I'm still not entirely clear on what the Lions made that trade that it was a conditional 6th that could have been a 5th for, who was it at the deadline this year? Help me out, somebody. Help me out, chat. I'm drawing a blank.
No. I know it. Everson Griffin.
Thank you. So I'm not entirely sure if it's yet. Someone sent me an email this week that I didn't answer. Oh, it was Aubrey Plaza. Thank you, chat. I think that could potentially be a 5th, so that would mean the Lions would have a 6th. But all that sort of stuff usually gets cleared out once compensatory picks are in and the draft order is set from rounds 1 to 7. Those haven't happened yet, so we might not know until then. You can tag him and you can have space on the cap. If you rescind, he is a free agent. Oh. Well, that's not good. Anything else from chat before we jump back in? That was a nice, juicy first segment.
Yeah, I think we got about 20 minutes on that one. I'm just more amazed at kind of watching people like... Sorry, is that thing in the background like loud?
No, I don't hear anything.
Even when I talk, there's someone once again running a leaf blower.
I don't hear it.
Like,
I don't hear it. Do you guys believe Lions sign one big free agent? Okay, these are good questions. Maybe we should hold on to... Actually, I think we have a similar question already in our mailbag.
Chris, you went to the same elementary high school. So my high school was St. John's Jesuit. I didn't even know if we're talking Toledo. So you'd have to have like... I'm curious what elementary school you think I went to just to see, because I do know like... Oh, okay, yeah. No. I did go to Ottawa Hills for elementary. That's true. Yeah. Okay, I just making sure, because I know like. Long story short, for actually, oh, you're Joe. You know Joe Wolf. All right, awesome. Yeah. I think most of the reason people might know that is because I know. Oh, there goes Craig again. Okay, good that we test that.
Craig's a jerk.
Yeah, well, not to do a depressing story, but I think most of the reason people would. What?
I don't know. That's just a very ominous way to start a sentence.
No, so I mean, I'm trying to not lean on my last name too much, just because I'm trying. After an incident, I've decided to try to move away from it just to keep my own family protected. But no, one of my aunts, like when she was going to my Ottawa Hills High School, died in a car crash, and there's like a bench with her name out there, so. I get questions about that every now and then. But if you know Joe, then you know Joe. Joe's great.
Yeah, Craig.
Haven't seen those guys in forever.
CJ.
Even though they're all Cowboys fans too.
CJ, Craig, when everyone's saying we hate Craig, we're not talking about you. Just so you know. We appreciate the CJ Craig.
We appreciate CJ. It's just this this robot Craig, which he's been good for about a month or two, Jeremy.
Yeah,
this is very random.
All right. Before we get into Lions talk again, the respected Madman has requested a list cast.
Okay.
We'll do top.
Well, we need
3. He put the category in there already. Candy flavors.
Candy flavor. So it's so it's not candy. It's flavors.
Just the flavors. Yes.
Okay. So that would be like okay.
I think I have my answer, and I feel like 2 of these might be cheating. Well. Do we want to do 3 or 5?
I'll
do 5. I can do 5.
Let's do 5, because again, the problem is like there's 2 different types of candy, right? Are we talking if you're talking like sugar candy, you're going more kind of like sweet fruit type flavors.
Yep.
Whereas like if you're talking like a chocolate candy, then obviously you've got that whole family of like nutty flavors.
All right, here we go. Number 5, sour apple. Number 4, watermelon.
Okay.
Number 3, blue raspberry. Number 2, peanut butter. Number 1, chocolate.
Okay.
Best list. You guys, you don't have to go anymore. Like I nailed it.
No, I started thinking about Jelly Bellies, so I'm trying to think of what Jelly Belly flavors. So that's
banana
like
candy is last. Absolutely.
Yeah, banana is an awful flavor. Do you have something, Ryan, or should I go?
I don't. Wait, I'll just adopt Jeremy's list. I think he's got it right.
Nailed it.
All right. Lemon is my number 1. I'll just say that straight up. Lemon is like...
What's a good lemon candy?
Well, here's the thing is like, you want to talk about my favorite candy of all time, it's Warheads.
Okay.
So the lemon Warhead is like supreme. And usually they're like, lemon just is usually like, if you ever get like lemon Starburst or something, they just feel juicy to me.
I'm always disappointed. Like I love lemon flavor, but I'm always just like I don't. Lemon Starbursts are probably third at best. Lemon Runts are horrible. Lemon Heads are horrible. I don't know.
Well, I think lemon at its best is still the best.
Okay, that's fair.
But anyway, so I'll take that. And at 2, I'm going to put cherry.
Okay.
Just again, like there's usually good cherry candies out there. 3, blue raspberry. I know it's like, it's so weird, right? Like, why is it always blue? Someone needs to do a deep dive into why it's blue. Number 4 is if they do it, it's fruit punch. I like a good fruit punch candy. Okay. Again, probably the strongest Starburst out there is fruit punch. You don't like my Starburst takes at all.
Because everyone knows Pink reigns supreme. I don't even know what flavor it is, but it's Pink reigns supreme.
No, Pink's lemonade. Pink's lemon.
Is it?
It's pink. It's pink lemonade.
Is it? Is that true?
Yeah. I'm gonna hold by it.
Chet says strawberry.
Pink is strawberry? No. Okay. I don't even know. So what do I have so far? I've got lemon, cherry, blue raspberry, fruit punch. And then I'll go orange. I'll do orange.
Okay.
You want to get on in this, Ryan?
No, I said Jeremy's list was the best, right?
Yeah. Let me go get Ruby real quick. He's being a lump. So
yeah, we did get a request.
Yep. 1 second. And I haven't had him the last few weeks because of the green screen, so I might as well get him right now, even though you can see him right there. My finger's right at it.
True.
LJ posting the long form Google search of what flavor is Pink Starburst.
It does say, it leads to strawberry.
All right. You win.
But it doesn't taste like strawberry. I mean, it's fair to say that does not taste like strawberry. It probably tastes a little bit more like a pink lemonade, which is delicious. Like this could be a whole nother list cast, and since it's a day in the 60s here in Detroit, maybe like summer drinks.
Back over there when we're done.
Pink lemonade is like top 5 summer drink.
He's looking at you guys.
It's also one of the best odd side seltzers that is out there.
Ooh, hard seltzer. Uh-oh. Dang, Ruby looking fierce.
He looks pissed.
He does.
You guys woke him up.
You know what's also a great summer drink? Cherry limeade. That might be my favorite.
I heard that right.
Who was having cherry? Somebody was doing cherry limeade.
I'm gonna huff you real quick.
That might kill me if I just
everyone has to huff some cat.
It would kill me, Chris. It might literally kill me. Ooh, Arnold Palmer's pretty good up there too.
All right, come on, buddy. Let's go. Put you back to your
Is a Goose cameo possible, Ryan?
It is not. He was here this weekend though.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw a picture on Instagram.
Yeah, on Sunday, my parents invited me over to their house, and I was wondering why they invited me, and it was because they were having a birthday party for Goose, not my dog.
That's right. That's what it was.
Yeah. So
he turned 2, right?
He turned the big 2.
Oh boy. He's just a month younger than Zazu. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The real question, other than color, what's the difference between lemonade and pink lemonade?
Sorry, what did I miss? I talk about
Lines asked, other than color, what is the real difference between lemonade and pink lemonade?
So I think pink, to get its color, doesn't use a little bit of like cranberry juice, I think.
I don't know. To me, that's one of those mysteries where it's just like, I'd rather keep it a mystery. I don't want to Google it.
No, it is. It usually is, unless you're putting strawberries in it, and then it becomes strawberry lemonade.
Right.
But pink lemonade, it gets its flavor from, you put just a little bit of cranberry juice in it. So it does make it a little more, just a slight more tart. I guess you could use grenadine too, CJ Craig, but I know traditionally it is cranberry juice.
Uncle Indigo asks Ryan, how's the leg? Are you dunking again?
No, not dunking. Other than on people on Twitter. No, just kidding. No, I don't know. I'm doing all right. It's getting long. ready to kind of just do some of the things I used to be able to do as well as I used to be able to do them, but I'll get there.
Hey, the good news is that the rest of the world has also slowed down for an entire year, so you didn't make up, or you didn't lose a bunch of time as people didn't go to gyms
Right.
and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
all right, you guys ready to get back to it?
Not really, but we'll do it anyway.
Twist your arm.
Yeah.
It comes from pink lemons.
From pink lemons. Just like chocolate cows from
Brown cows.
Yeah.
How now, brown cow?
I heard a great I was playing one game, one depraved JRPG, and they made the joke about how coconut milk comes from a cocoa goat.
Ooh, hold on. Big news, not Lions news coming down the pike, but big news. According to ESPN's Mike Garofalo, NFL Network's Mike Garofalo, Cowboys announced they've agreed to terms on a new contract with Dak Prescott.
Everyone who wanted Russell Wilson to go there, eat shit. You always knew Jerry Jones was going to re-sign him. Jerry Jones doesn't know who the fuck anyone besides those guys on the Cowboys are. Like, I heard so many people talk about, oh, what if they go after, Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, bring him to the Cowboys. No, Jerry Jones is an idiot GM. He doesn't know who those people are. He's never made big trades in his life. And that's good for Dak. Get that money.
About time, man. Deadline
Get that
spur
money.
action.
That was stupid.
Deadline spur action. Good for him, though. And good for the Cowboys for finally getting that done. Now, cut Zeke. Can you get out? They probably can't get anywhere out of that contract. I don't even want to look.
I am terrified about what the deals are on that contract with Dak.
Hopefully this doesn't mean Russell Wilson to the Bears, though. At least it means
As
not
I said, the
Dak
Bears
Prescott
are desperate. If and this is going to make them more desperate because now the Cowboys, now there's no Cowboys in the market. Like my guy Jonas, I did a podcast. I did a show with him, and he made the analogy of the Bears are kind of like the guy who stops at a car dealership and he got there by an Uber ride. Everyone knows they're desperate, and the entire league has them over a barrel. Let's cast. We'll do that next break. We already did one. We do need to get back into it, but that is big news. Should we talk about it on the show, or you just fine letting that pass?
Maybe during the mailbag segment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't even have terms yet, so not.
Yep. Let me get a stopwatch up. And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Coming along here to talk all Lions. Okay, so we've had quite a bit. I know Dan Campbell was on the Pat McAfee show, which was interesting because I know Pat McAfee had was kind of put off by Campbell in the past, particularly on how he appeared. And I know then, of course, Jeremy's looking at me funny because of he caught that Pat McAfee block.
No, I didn't get blocked. I didn't get blocked by him.
You didn't get blocked?
No.
I thought you got blocked.
No, he just told me to F off. Or take an F
He
and
just told you to F off. Okay, I thought he blocked you along with it.
No. We're all good.
But you want to start there, or should I start on the Dan Patrick show? I'd realize I teased that a little bit, but then I'm like, actually, the DP stuff was...
actually, why don't we just touch quickly on Jamie Collins? Because we were going to touch on that.
Yeah, you're right. I completely forgot about that. So I did say I'd get to that in the last segment. So Jamie Collins, his contract was restructured, is going to result in, I believe...
here's the thing, we don't know yet because the restructured details aren't out yet. Spot Track does have contract details up, but no one else has confirmed it. No one else has put any details out there. Basically, we know they're going to add voidable years to the contract, which means they're going to take his big 9 and change, what was an 8.8 million salary this year, turn it into something like 1 million this year, take the remaining 7.8 million, turn that into a signing bonus, and stretch that out between the remaining years on his contract. There's only 1 year remaining on this contract, which is why when we talked contract restructures, we didn't include Jamie Collins in our conversation, but the way to get around that is to add voidable years. And so if we're going off Spot Track, and again, I want to make clear this is not official at any point, it's just what Spot Track has. They added 3 voided years. So that means the Lions would, in this scenario, save $6.3 million in cap space this year, but that means that $6.3 million is then spread out over the next 4 years because he's under contract 1 more year, and then he's got 3 more voided years, which means basically something in the neighborhood of like a $1.6 million cap hit for the next 4 years, with or without him on the team. It also makes it very hard to cut next year because if they didn't do the extension, if they didn't do the restructure, they could cut him after this year and get $10 million in cap savings back. Now it's only $5.2 million, and he's also costing more. His cap hit next year is $13.9 million, where it would have only been $12.3 million. So it pretty much locks him down for the next 2 years, I would say.
Sorcery. These voidable years things is sorcery to me. So I'm just a dumb idiot. What do I know? But it is kind of fascinating, Ryan. Like, again, we'd have to see how much, but it does sound like between what we talked about, so we're talking about what, 6.2 million in savings from Trufant, about 2.5 million from Jones. Let's just say, as Jeremy said, 6.3 according per Spot Track on what could come out of Jamie Collins. I think we're almost like, I'm going to have to add up whatever it could be from Chase Daniel. Either you're going to cut him or trade him, but I think we're already into like close to 15 million saved then.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like enough. It seems like it's just not enough.
Yeah, it pretty much gets them like, okay, now we're under the cap, but also now we have to sign a whole bunch of people, and you need some extra money for that.
You draft and get stuff, get some free agents to fill holes. Yeah.
It's a good starting point, though.
It's good. No. We're a week away from free agency, and we've already done that much damage. I like it. So, where do you want to start as far as the press conferences? This week. So I want to start on Dan Campbell. We've got either Dan Patrick or Pat McAfee. Which was more interesting to you, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what topics you want to talk about from those interviews. I mean, I don't know if there was a ton from Campbell from Pat McAfee. It was to me, it was a lot of just like feel goodery, like a bunch of like two. I mean, I hate to use the term because Dan Campbell's brought it, two meatheads, kind of just like talking about football and kneecap biting and all that stuff. I mean, it was silly, and it's good entertainment, and I think a lot of Lions fans love to see that sort of stuff about Dan Campbell. I'd say the most interesting thing he said, at least to me, was the influence of Sean Payton on him, because we know Dan Campbell's kind of an older school kind of thought guy, and when I hear that, my mind immediately goes, oh God, like this is a guy who's going to punt, this is a guy who's going to run, this is a guy who's not ever going to go for 2. But he said specifically, Sean Payton made him a more aggressive coach. Sean Payton is definitely one of the more aggressive coaches when it comes to 4th down decisions, when it comes to going for 2, all that sort of stuff. And he said some of that has rubbed off on him. And, he also said a bunch of qualifiers that were like, well, but, I still do kind of believe in some philosophies and running the ball and ball control. And I do believe that you can't just go based off analytics when it comes to 4th down decisions. And while that's true, I do think too many coaches don't rely on analytics, and too many, they justify their position by saying, oh, well, our quarterback wasn't feeling good, or we thought we had an advantage running the ball. It's just like, no, just go for it more.
No, I disagree with that. Like the context always matters in that. And this isn't a sport where you can just be, I think, 100% analytics, because the context does matter. It's a tactical sport, ultimately, at the end of the day, far more than baseball, which is just a number generator when it comes to it. You have very defined outcomes that allows for that in baseball. I don't think that works for football, but I did want to say on the Sean Payton thing, it's just, I keep coming back to that, and I did enjoy hearing that, at least because I feel like every time someone wants to drag out Dan Campbell's name and talk about how did this unexperienced guy get this job and everything, they just kind of missing all those years with Sean Payton. And it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me because people put such a premium on those, including analytical people, put such a premium on, well, you've got to come from a coordinator thing. It's almost its own orthodoxy, and I kind of hate it. Like, he spent a lot of time with Sean Payton. He learned quite a bit. And Although, as far as the meathead thing, I do enjoy that too. I'll always enjoy two meatheads talking. I know someone in chat saying Pat McAfee's not a meathead. I massively disagree. He is an absolute meathead. And as far as Dan Campbell's qualifications for meathead, maybe he does have that in the past, but I do know on the Pride of Detroit Discord, someone dug up the I believe it was an ad to buy Cowboys season tickets from the year 2000, and it was the early 2000s. I don't remember right now what year precisely, but it involved cowboys going to wrangle a horse, and then they call in Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell then goes and off-screen tackles the horse. I just want to let you know Dan Campbell played tight end, in case you forgot. They went for a guy to lay down a hit, not an offensive lineman, not a defensive end or a linebacker. They said, no, the tight end. We're going to have the Cowboys tight end tackle the horse. Love it. Love meatheads.
Ryan, why don't you get in here? Why don't you? Let's open the floor to anything, any media appearance or press conference. What's something that you found interesting from either something Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes said last week?
I think it's the quarterback stuff. I think that's easiest to say. It's the most interesting because the Lions have they have a bevy of options in front of them. They have Jared Goff. Looks like he can be the guy this year. At number 7, you can take a project like a Trey Lance and have him sit behind Jared Goff as Anthony Lynn would prefer, as he said he would prefer. So I don't even think it's smokescreen. I think that this regime doesn't know how to not be transparent. Because I truly think that every position's on the table, including quarterback. So I think that was the most interesting takeaway.
And I know in one of those, Campbell did say that the top needs as far as depth. Now, this isn't just for the draft, but top needs he wants to target wide receiver, cornerback, offensive line, interior defensive line, and linebackers, which, that all tracks to everything we've said on this podcast, except I think we think the offensive line's probably in a decent enough position, but you do need to figure out the right side of the line. Yeah. But, do you agree with that assessment that those are kind of the top needs, Jeremy?
For sure. Yeah, no question about it. It might have been a little bit telling that he said cornerback, but I think we all knew that the Desmond Trufant cut was coming, and like we mentioned before, Justin Coleman might be right behind him. But yeah, out of that group, nothing really surprises me. Maybe the fact that he didn't say safety is telling, and that maybe they have a little bit of faith in what they got in their two young safeties there. But otherwise, there's really not a wrong answer, right? Like, what on this team doesn't need at least depth at this point? Everything,
right?
Everything,
but
especially linebacker.
Yeah, but I do want to go back to the quarterback thing, because for me, the thing that's tricky is okay, so Brad Holmes says he likes the quarterback class, and he says if you're in the top 10, you have to do your due diligence anyways because you're in the top 10 quarterback. If you can get a great quarterback in the top 10 while you're in the top 10, why wouldn't you do that? Especially if your quarterback future is cloudy, and it is. I think they like Jared Goff. I think they plan on him being the quarterback, if not for just this year, for the next 2 years at least. But we don't know what happens beyond that. But what I found interesting is what Dan Campbell then said on the Dan Patrick Show a couple days later, which made it seem a little less cloudy about the future, because he says all our options are open. I think that we feel pretty good with where we're going right now, but yet we're open to everything right now. And if you watch that interview, he was basically trying to hype up Jared Goff as much as possible without being legally able to do it, because he still can't talk about it. But he's basically praising him. He's saying, we're looking for a guy who knows how to win, a guy who been in big situations and can handle himself in big situations, and a guy who's blonde, and a guy who wears the numbers 1 and 6 on his jersey. He was hyping him up, and when he says we feel pretty good with where we're going right now, that makes me think quarterback is not high on this team's priority list. I don't know. Maybe that's me, overlooking what Brad Holmes said about his interest in this year's class. But I also go back to our conversation with Justin Rogers and what Campbell said to him, which is basically like, we need the foundation before the quarterback. And I think we can all agree the foundation ain't there.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the Tampa Bay blueprint, right? Like, they had every piece ready to go except for their quarterback. And if the Lions are doing that, then that's cool. And guess what? Like, I'm not ready. I keep saying this on the podcast, but I'm not ready to write the book on Jared Goff. And I'm a little more optimistic on Jared Goff than a lot of other people on Lions Twitter. I just don't get where it's coming from. I know he had a bad year, but like, I know John Whitaker, and I think we're going to get into this in the mailbag. Like, John Whitaker had a thread that like, hey, if Goff has a Pro Bowl year. If Goff has another Pro Bowl year, he was talking about his trade value. I don't want to talk on that for a second, but like, let me just put it this way. If Goff has another Pro Bowl year, then guess what? You found your at least medium-term quarterback for at least like the next 3, maybe 4 years.
It's the exact same discussion, but rewind it 3 weeks prior to the trade where it was like, well, gee, I don't know if the Lions hire a guy like Aaron Glenn or Anthony Lynn, they're going to get poached. Our good coaches are going to get poached. It's like, geez, awesome. What a great problem to have. The coaches are coaching well, and the quarterback is playing at a Pro Bowl level. What a conundrum to be faced.
Let's freak out about it. The Lions are in a good situation. What do we do?
Let's worry about his trade value as if we're like house flipping or something. What are we doing? Not to call out John, and I'm not calling out John, but I know this has been a thing on Lions Twitter where people just assume that the only reason you have Goff is to then flip him later, or to just eat. You took him on to eat the salary as part of the trade or something. Like, no, they see him as valuable, man. I just don't know why so many people are saying it can never be again with Goff. We've seen a lot of times quarterbacks go to different environments and sometimes they do better on a new system. Sometimes they just have better pieces around him. And who knows, man? Like, I just hate this forecasting right now with Goff.
And I mean,
hate it.
Not to mention if Jared Goff has a career year in 2021, that means he did it with a patchwork wide receiver, a bad defense, probably, an offensive line that's still figuring things out. If Jared Goff has literally a top 5 season, which, I mean, I guess that's what we can call a Pro Bowl season next year, like that's a huge like sign that maybe this guy is more than meets the eye right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, his talent's been there since college too. It's always been the knock on Goff is just he hasn't been able to put it together in the pro levels. Okay, well, you work on that. It's not like he has a weak arm or something. Like, he has all the pieces there. He just needs to figure out where to really, how to put it all together.
Mailbag time?
Does.
Yep. Yeah, I think it is mailbag time. I was just checking the clock here. I think it is time. We did mention the mailbag, so we do want to get into that and talk about some of these questions. I'm sure Jared Goff is going to come up again, and including some big news that just kind of broke while we're recording. So I think this is maybe of interest to Lions fans. We'll talk about it in the mailbag with all your questions next on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Uncle Indigo.
Yes.
My man.
Dropping the 5 bomb, 5 gifted subs. He's now given 105 to the channel. Uncle Indigo, legend in the Twitch chat. Thank you, Uncle Indigo. Appreciate you, bud. Let's see. Our right side of the offensive blows. Aubrey Plaza going to get poached off the Lions. Yeah, true. True. Did we get anything else? No, we didn't.
So funny thing
we did.
About
you got gifted a sub, by the way.
I did. Yeah, I haven't. I forgot mine expired, and I haven't reused my Prime one.
But that's a good reminder. Fine, actually.
Yeah. So if you have Amazon Prime, you have 1 free sub to use of your choice on Twitch. You can use it wherever you want, but you should definitely use it on the Pride of Detroit Twitch. So if you go, it won't say anything there, but if you go to your sub down there, it says to subscribe, or it'll say something off. But guess what? It's not telling you about the free one. You got to go down a little bit. There's a free sub on there, and you can sub to the channel.
Yep.
We had a request before to also list cast our favorite list cast. I can do top 3.
Go for it. That might be the only one we get.
All right. So number 1 was the tight ends list cast where we said Hunter Henry when Hunter Henry was like
he
out
had
for the
torn his
season.
ACL
Yep.
month earlier or something.
And that wasn't just me being adequate. Jeremy did the same thing.
I'm telling you, when you take me out of the purview of the Detroit Lions, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, you're me. Number 2 was the N64 list cast we did with Slick, with our good friend Big Slick McDick. Rest in peace on Twitter, but I think he's still on Twitter. He's not banned or nothing. He's just barely using it anymore. But
good for him.
That was fun.
Get off Twitter.
And he did a top 10. He did a top 10 list of just Pokemon games on the N64, if I remember.
Truly appalling.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and
is
then number 3
best part of this cast.
Yeah. And then number 3 was, we just did this the other week, but it was our Adam Sandler list cast.
That took like an hour.
That took an hour and somehow spawned 2 additional list casts on Jim Carrey and Jack Black.
Yeah. Those were good. I like those.
Yeah.
I'm adopting your list.
Yep. So funny thing on Dak too, and I know like this is funny as I look at the contract. By the way, the numbers are out from Schefter.
Yep.
Averaging $42 million a year over the first in the first 3 years.
Yeah, 4 years, $160 million. So over $40 million a year for the whole contract.
126 guaranteed.
Yeah, and a no trays and no tag clause.
Woof.
That's
woof.
It's very friendly to Dak, and the fact that it's front loaded like that. The first 3 years average $42 million a year. It's slightly front loaded. Whew. Dak could get $75 million in year 1. Yeah, because
I have a friend. I have a friend in my Discord DMs right now saying like Dak ain't won shit. But look, it's the devil you know when it comes to the Cowboys. I think people see the promise in Dak Prescott a little bit. He's not a bad quarterback. I don't know if he's like one of the best ones out there, but it's, as I said, like Jerry doesn't, like, people were expecting them to like trade for Russell Wilson or something. It just was never going to happen. It was going to be Dak. And it's funny too, because I've been told Dak wasn't even his first choice in that, Jerry Jones' first choice in that draft. Jerry Jones wanted Carson Wentz. No, I'm serious. He wanted Carson Wentz. That was his choice of quarterback.
Listen, like I think Dak Prescott is top 5 quarterback potential. Obviously, there's a lot of questions about his ankle right now. I mean, that was a horrific injury, and as Ryan can tell you, coming back from an injury is not easy. It's not easy, and I think maybe, I mean, you know, athletes are amazing at rehab. They get all the best medical resources, but it's also a huge mental thing. It's a huge mental thing. Like, Ryan, how often are you thinking about that leg when you're walking or doing anything that could potentially danger it? Like, it's got to be on your mind all the time, right?
I think about my leg more than I think about anything else.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
no, I'm serious. There's like imagine just going from walking to like not walking normally. Like you like every time you get up.
Yep.
Like every time you go from a seated position to up, you're thinking about your leg, and then you're thinking about it the whole way to whatever destination you're going to, and it doesn't stop. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had that because I had like a problem with my hip twice, and it does kind of mess with you after a while. I still don't sleep. I still like refuse to sleep on the side of my body where like I had my hip injury. So and I used to sleep on that side all the time. The only thing I'll say about Dak going, re-signing with the Cowboys is like, I worry that it's kind of not the same Cowboys team that we've been anticipating in past years. Like, yeah, they're going to have CeeDee Lamb, and they've got, I think, Amari Cooper back with them, which I guess that's all right. Amari Cooper has always kind of defied my expectations. He's up, he's down. Ezekiel Elliott's probably dropped off the board. it's still would you say it's still a decent offensive line, Jeremy? Because that was always their strength, was they had a good offensive line.
They've had some changes in recent years. I can't, like I said like 5 minutes ago, we're going outside of the lines. Like I can't tell you things for sure, but I know it hasn't been as good in recent years as it's certainly not where it was. Like you said, like I don't think the Cowboys are the team that they were a couple of years ago. Their defense. I mean, how many times is this team going to go through offensive coordinators before they land on someone that works?
Kellen Moore.
That the buck stops there.
It stops in Kellen Moore. It's just I wonder about the Cowboys because that division is going to get competitive. Like
maybe
I know it's been fun to dunk on Daniel Jones, but he's playing better. He's playing competently. And Saquon Barkley will be back with the Giants, and they're starting to come out of their doldrums. And Washington, if they get a serviceable quarterback, like that's a good team to try. Like Washington has a bunch of pieces. They just don't have a quarterback to really put it together. Like the Cowboys, I feel like missed those years with the Dak injury to take advantage of a weak NFC East.
Yeah, for sure. Before I forget, Lions came in with the 5 gifted as well. Appreciate that, my friend. First 5 gifted to the channel. Appreciate you doing that, man. And enjoy the sub William Coe, Honolulu Blues, D Leathers, Johnny Kilroy, and Yoda. You guys now get ad-free experiences, and you can use our emotes, our 5 emotes, which will hopefully be more soon.
And I agree with Cordy Aaron. Like they did lose Travis Frederick, their center, and that's a big loss to that offensive line. So
yeah, he retired. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think much on the Cowboys these days. I just don't see them as a threat ever. I feel like every time people start talking about Cowboys for preseason expectations, they're just once again lost in the mists of the 90s and being fans of the Cowboys.
Yeah, no question. But the thing to me is like that the NFC East is up for grabs every year. That's great.
Yeah.
But it very rarely does an NFC East winner make noise in the playoffs. Like obviously the Eagles won a few years ago, but outside of that, what?
Yeah, but again, I just laid out like the East, like it's not going to be the great division as I think the NFC West is going to be next year, but it'll at least be if Daniel Jones keeps improving, if the Giants get back Saquon Barkley, if Washington gets a quarterback, you're not going to roll over the division if you're Dak and the Cowboys.
No one's ever rolling that division ever because it's the least predictable, usually one of the worst divisions in football, and I think it's going to still be pretty. I think the Eagles are in full rebuild. I'm not trusting the Giants and Joe Judge yet. And personally, I think Daniel Jones is not good. But I do believe Washington's on the up and up, and and probably the Cowboys are. But I think it's a dangerous game to play to try to even predict that division because.
Yeah, it's chaos.
Well, I mean, what the hell happened this year? Like, I think everyone again was, and sure, the Dak Prescott injury was and the Saquon Barkley injuries were both.
Sure, but we were also near the end of the year giggling like, hey, haha, it could be a 6-10 team winning that division, and Washington finished what? They finished.
I don't know. This is what the NFC East does. It gets its claws into us. We all know we shouldn't be talking about it. We all know they're trash teams. But it's got the Cowboys, it's got a New York team, and we talk about them, and I hate it.
It's got the big major markets. It's got the big major markets across.
I hate it.
Like the capital of all of our media. So anyway, we should probably do a mailbag. If you guys have some more, questions, by all means, me and Jeremy will try to keep an eye on it.
Yep. And I had a good one from Twitter, too, that I didn't add to our list, so I'll bring that up when...
See, the funny thing about the ESPN bias is I think ESPN does show bias at times. It's definitely New York slanted, and it's definitely DC slanted. I don't know if it's Dallas slanted. Their bias, though, the most of the time comes out when they start talking about New England. Not the Patriots, but just any team, any kind of sport in the New England area. I think it's why people say they don't talk hockey. I find that they're highlight guys. They go to hockey more than I think you deserve to go to highlights for hockey. I know I'm talking to mostly Michigan people, so you're going to react that poorly, but outside of Michigan and New England and like the New England area, Sorry. Don't care about hockey.
Says the Cali boy.
Don't care about hockey.
He's the new Cali boy, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm from Ohio, though.
But you're acting like a Cali boy. All right, really quick on the McAfee stuff. He was spreading a Lions rumor that he clearly didn't know the source of. He admitted on air that he didn't know the source of. No one did any vetting of the source before they started talking about it on air. I called it out on Twitter. He apparently saw it and responded to it on air and said, "Jeremy, go take an effing hike." And then his co-host also told me to kick rocks, which is a nice 1960s insult. But it's not a big deal. I don't care. I still follow Pat McAfee. I still find him highly entertaining at times. He does what he does, and that's fine. But I just think when you have that big of a platform, you should be a little bit more responsible. And I realize also it's a live show, and his tweets come up, you want to talk about him, and that's what he does very, very well. He's on from 12 to 3. A bunch of news comes on. He's able to get out a 30-second clip of them talking about it within 5 minutes of the tweet dropping, and it's impressive. It sometimes leads to you to perhaps
show your ass.
Yeah, and he's fine with that trade-off, and it'll work for him. But I'm just think in this age where a lot of crappy news is spread around, when a lot of let's call it misleading news is passed around, and people are struggling to find the truth in news. Maybe take a step back. Maybe take an extra 2 minutes before you start talking about something. That's all.
Yeah, let me get out this tweet real quick, and then we'll get to the mailbag.
Y'all think Russell Wilson gets traded?
No, absolutely not. I've had this conversation all over the weekend. Like, speaking of us kind of spinning our wheels in the sports media, no, I don't.
What about you, Ryan?
Like,
boy, oh boy. I hope he does.
To where?
Like, here's
I hope
the
he
thing.
does.
Here's the thing for me. One, I can't pick out a dance partner for him. Even if people say Bears, you have to realize that I don't think that Ryan Pace, with his job on the line, is going to get cleared to haul away the future of the Bears for a quarterback, even if it's a really good one like Russell Wilson, who is going to probably be the best option if you're going to haul away something. But I just don't think the Seahawks are really going to put him up for sale. Like, it's ugly right now, but there's been no interest from the Seahawks to try to move him. The only party that's tried talking about it is his agent, who seems to be doing it mostly just put pressure on the Seahawks to figure out their shit. But I haven't seen, unlike with, say, the Texans or the Lions, there's been no reaction from the team itself towards that. In the case of the Texans, they reacted by saying, yeah, we're not going to, you're still here. For the Lions, they reacted by shopping around Stafford and got a buyer for him. I don't think we've seen that from Seattle. There has not been a reaction from the Seahawks about what they want to do. And to be honest, they still have another option on the table than getting rid of him, which is to either listen to some of his demands or side with him over fucking Pete Carroll. Although I don't know how much you can do the latter, just because Pete Carroll has an insane amount of control over that organization. But I also know if the Seahawks are in a bad position, because I feel like the Seahawks, if you're Pete Carroll, or if you're whoever is in Pete Carroll's orbit to make these decisions, if you're giving up on Russell Wilson, you're kind of signaling that it's time for a rebuild. And if you're signaling that it's time for a rebuild, people start getting fired, including a guy like Pete Carroll.
But
I just don't know if they can really do it. I see it much more likely that they're going to figure out a way to try to mend these fences somehow. And it's more like I just don't see it. It's not hit the point yet where it's non-recoverable.
I think you might be right there. The couple things I'll say. One is that to me, not hearing anything from the team is a red flag. The fact that they haven't come out and said, no, Russell Wilson's not for sale, that's a red flag to me. Why wouldn't you come out and do that? If you have no intentions of trading Russell Wilson, why not come out and say, hey, we're not trading Russell Wilson? The only thing I would say is, like, you want to get this cleared out behind closed doors before you even say anything. And that makes sense. Like, you don't want to come out and say, we're not trading Russell Wilson, because that seems kind of adversarial to Russell Wilson. Maybe you want to go and say, like, hey, let's talk this out. We want you here. We don't want you to go anywhere. Let's hash this out before any of us make any more public statements. And maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe it's not. But, I mean, you're right that it's not unsalvageable yet. It's nowhere near a Deshaun Watson situation. But that Athletic article was damning. It made it a lot worse than I thought it was, because there was always rumblings of him being frustrated that he wasn't being allowed to let himself cook and all that sort of stuff. But it's bad. And I think overall I'm still with you that I don't think he goes anywhere. But to me, it's close to 50-50.
I just think if you're Seattle and you're presented with the argument, are you going to side with Pete Carroll or are you going to side with Russell Wilson? I think the Seahawks themselves would say, I'm going to side with Russell Wilson. Because what has really Pete Carroll done for you lately in making that team? He's just kind of, he won you a Super Bowl, then he got to another one, and it's just been slowly just disintegrating, and there's been no righting of the ship in Seattle. I think you side with Russ. If there's an organizational question, you side with Russell Wilson over Pete Carroll. I'm sorry.
I don't know, man. I mean, a slow disintegrating is a team that has won 10 games or more every single year since 2011.
Yeah. And
do you know what's on the other side of that sometimes, Chris? Do you know what happens when you give up something maybe even as good as 9-7 back-to-back seasons?
I know what happens if you give up a quarterback like Russell Wilson.
What? Give me an example.
You lose that too. I think it's much more. I think it's much more easy to replace a guy like Pete Carroll than it is to replace. And by the way,
maybe
you're like, Pete Carroll has a shitload of power right now in Seattle. He's basically got the Bill O'Brien scenario, except that he hasn't really effed up as bad as Bill O'Brien. Like if you're an owner who wants guys to share more power, I know, Ryan, do you have any? Ryan's leaning up, so I think I've got his interest. What do you have? Or should we get in the mailbag?
I don't know, man. I guess mailbag. I don't know.
Are you okay?
No, I mean, I guess the only thing that's really analogous is the Patriots situation, right? Like, is it the quarterback or is it the coach?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I mean, the quarterback left, and look what happened. But I don't know. I don't think you can completely blame that on Cam Newton. I know I have a type, but like, come on, who is he throwing the ball to?
Right. Like, I think Tom Brady, the thing that made that situation interesting for me is I think Tom Brady realized it was disintegrating.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and he wasn't going to sit around and take the blame for that.
The Patriots also just dealt with a ton of opt-outs, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Patriots are due for a bad season, and I don't think there's a coach that could have salvaged that.
I could see Wilson on the move. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't see these parties that far apart. I think the silence is more telling to, like, they're trying to mend this behind closed doors. And the only thing I've gotten out of his agent seems to be just the usual saber rattling from agents.
Really quick.
Yeah.
More details on the Dak Prescott. So this is really starting to become the norm with NFL contracts. It has 2 voidable years at the end to help them spread out the cap, spread out all that guaranteed money. But also means they're going to be paying for him when he's not on the roster, if he's not on the roster after the 4-year extension.
4 years is pretty tight, though. I think Dak was always kind of expecting a lot longer of a deal. So that is. The fact that they got him to bite on 4 years is kind of a bit of a victory for Jerry.
Maybe. It's certainly not the Patrick Mahomes 10-year deal.
No, I mean, that's once in a generation to get a deal like that.
True.
So, I mean, but I think Dak wanted like 5 years, at least 5 years. Anyway, let's do the mailbag.
Hey, the trade
What's up?
first round. Oh. Isaiah Wilson just got traded. He was the disgruntled Titans first-round offensive tackle who was not very good in his rookie. He was as close to a disaster as possible for a first-round pick, and there's no details yet on that. It's a swap of picks, which means basically nothing.
Interesting.
Not all that interesting. Zach, well, I can add that one to the mailbag if you want.
Which one?
Your
Was
take
Zach
on
a golf
opting
question?
out. Opting out due to COVID, could it be a red flag this year? That was a question that was asked to Brad Holmes.
Like this coming year?
This year's draft class. If a prospect opted out of 2020,
okay. Yeah. It
is that a
just
red
took me
flag
a
for you?
second to get my brain around it. Yeah.
Which includes Jamar Chase.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Sorry, I'm just fixing my camera again because it's getting darker around my apartment. All right. And hopefully GARC hasn't screwed up, but mail time. Hashtag AskPOD on Twitter. We haven't heard the mailbag theme in forever.
I missed
back,
it.
baby. Oh, we really did miss it. By the way, speaking of mailbag, on near the weekends, again, check us out on Twitter at Pride of Detroit to get when we are doing these. But we have been on the app Locker Room for the last couple weeks, answering your questions there through video chats. It's a partnership
Audio.
we're doing with Locker Room for, what's that?
Audio chat, no video.
Audio chat, excuse me. Audio chat. I screwing adequate. But yeah, we've been doing an audio chat on there, kind of an audio mailbag. You can come in, ask your question, and Jeremy and Eric and Ryan, Eric Schlitt, will be answering those questions on there for you. It's a partnership we're doing with them for the next few weeks, I believe. We'll see where it goes
Few
from
months,
there
really.
after that. A few months, yeah.
Yeah, and it works like a call-in show, so like your voice is actually heard. I mean, if you're listening to the podcast on our feed, you've probably listened to maybe an episode or two.
You've seen it already, yeah.
But yeah, please join us. I think we just crossed over 100 followers. We usually have like 30, 40, 50 guys there in the chat, and so if you want to get in line and ask us a question face-to-face-ish, yeah, join us.
Yep, it's good. It's live entertainment. It's all wholesome fun. Now we get to recorded mailbag, which is also just great fun too. And we start with this question. Jason Kraulick asking us at Crowlick on Twitter, which high-end free agent do you think the Lions pursue first, if any?
I think the high-end free agent that the Lions pursue, if there is one, is going to be Kenny Golladay.
Oh,
And I truly think that like he's the biggest signing that the Lions could make this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, if they do go after him, I don't know if there's a ton of room for anyone else. I don't know. The vibes on Kenny Golladay we talked about it at the top. They're just all over the place. At first, it really seemed like that he was their dude, and Galladay's specifically said like he's got a special place in his heart for Detroit. When he heard Dan Campbell's presser, he referred to himself as still a Lion, and he's excited for Dan Campbell and all that sort of stuff. But now, like word that he turned down $18 million last year. The Lions are thinking about maybe not putting the franchise tag on him. I don't know. If I had to throw a name out there, and it's one of the more popular names out there, and it just because it makes a ton of sense, and it's John Johnson. I don't know how much Lions want to plug into safety. We've heard them talk about how they like their young safeties, but you're talking about a young safety who's playing at a hell of a level, a guy that Brad Holmes found, in the mid tier of the draft, 26-year-old. He's going to cost him a pretty penny, But you're bringing in a guy that's familiar with whatever system they're going to run. He's familiar with what this team wants. He's a good culture guy, and he's a guy that will always have a chip on his shoulder from where he was drafted. And so if the Lions are going to shell out money, again, safety maybe not necessarily the position you want to be shelling out a ton of money for, but you got 2 guys on rookie deals here. You're not spending a ton on the position right now. So bring in a guy like John Johnson and immediately upgrade and hopefully not have to play Will Harris.
You know who spends a lot of money on the safety position? The New York Jets. They franchise tagged Marcus May.
True.
So, but generally speaking, not a great formula for building a winning football team is spending a lot of money on the safety position. But
no, I don't think that's a hot take to say that anything the Jets do, you should not do.
It's just weird how you would trade Jamal Adams and then franchise tag another safety. Like, what are you doing?
Don't question Robert Saleh. He was our savior 2 months ago.
That's right. And then a bakery derailed everything.
Goddamn bakery. Zach on our Twitch chat is asking us this question. Your take on if opting out due to COVID could be a red flag. Now he's talking about if in this upcoming draft, if a player opted out from their college season, is that a red flag?
Well, here's the thing. The interesting in the way the question was formed. Could it be a red flag? I think yes, it could be. I think there are some teams that might view that as he's not as committed to football as he should be. Should it be a red flag is a very different question, and my answer to that one is hell no. Someone putting their own health, on not even their own health, like, as we now know and maybe didn't know at the time, like COVID maybe not necessarily as dangerous to the younger people than it is the older people, but these people had their families in mind, I'm sure, when they made this decision, and they're not just thinking about their own health, they're thinking about the health of their loved ones. Maybe they had a newborn. I think you do have to go situation to situation. It might be different for everyone, but in general, I am never ever going to fault a player for putting his own health above everything else, because that's what you should be doing. Even in a game of football where you're putting your health on the line every time you step on the field. This was something different. This was something that was scary at the time. We didn't know a lot about it at the time, so I'm not gonna hate on an 18-year-old making a decision in the middle of unprecedented times.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to that is, again, kind of reiterating that football's a dangerous game there. I think the other part, too, is that I think there was a lot of confusion as far as what a lot of these teams were even going to do as well. We saw leagues kind of like ending seasons, restarting seasons, only playing X number of teams. There was definitely a lot of confusion as to how these seasons would even be played. So I think maybe some players wanted to get out ahead of that. I'm sure it's going to be a question if there was such a thing as team interviews this year, as say, like if we still had the combine, it would definitely be coming up for a lot of these guys. And I think mercifully, because there was no combine, this isn't going to really be too much of an issue, I think. And it's fascinating too, because I think some of the guys who did opt out are going to be targeted, but then got a guy like, say, Trey Lance, who only played one game in 2020, probably isn't going to face that same scrutiny on a combination of A, no one seemed to understand how North Dakota State's schedule worked, and B, everyone needs a quarterback. Everyone needs that damn quarterback, and they're not going to suddenly start questioning Trey Lance's toughness just because he only played one game last year.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is what Jeremy noted, could it be a red flag? I think it could be a red flag if there's a prospect who doesn't have a whole lot of tape out there, and especially playing at the collegiate level, I think that could be problematic. But if you look at a player like Jamar Chase, that guy's done it for a couple of seasons. There's no way he's not going to be a top 10 pick. So it's really situational, and it's by the prospect. So we'll see. I can't imagine that it would be a red flag to too many teams.
I think everyone,
especially if the talent's there.
Year. Yeah. Well, talent trumps all in the end too. So.
Right.
All right. Critical perspective asking us this question through the comments. Which one of the following players do you sign to the 2021 Lions? 2014 DeAndre Levy, 2017 Darius Slay, 2010 Ndamukong Suh, or 2013 Reggie Bush?
Can we power rank these? I can do it. I can do it pretty quick. All right. Number one with a bullet is DeAndre Levy. I mean, the Lions are so desperate for a linebacker who can not only control the line of scrimmage, but can also, play coverage too. So, I mean, DeAndre Levy's number one with a bullet. Number two is 2010 Ndamukong Suh. I mean, I would do anything to have a disruptive defensive lineman of his caliber, because look at the kind of cheat code that Aaron Donald is. That's pretty close to kind of the guy Ndamukong Suh was earlier in his career. I'll even take 2021 Ndamukong Suh. So, but from there on out, like Darius Slay would be my next choice. I want to believe that Amani Oruwariye and Jeff Okudah are going to be great, but wouldn't it be nice to just have a little number one corner who can take away an entire half of the field? Reggie Bush would be last. I don't know why. We have DeAndre Swift. Yeah, the value's not there.
I would probably disagree with you in that. I would probably put Ndamukong Suh for my one, just because I wouldn't
be mad at you.
I'm so starved to see this Lions team actually make sacks again. I'm so starved, and I feel like for what Suh was as just insane freak in the interior that always needed to be double teamed if you had any hope of stopping him, that it does kind of take so much stress off of the rest of that front seven. And then, two for me is DeAndre Levy. I'm not putting him completely down here. Then Slay, then Bush.
Yeah, I actually have the same list as Chris. Suh, I know that's very off-brand of me, because I absolutely love DeAndre Levy, but I'm so desperate for a pass rush from the interior. We haven't had it since Ndamukong Suh walked off that field. And I mean, I just want to get Ndamukong Suh and Dan Campbell in the same room together. And they were before, like they played together, or they didn't play together. They were together with the Dolphins way back when. But like, I don't know, like I want that. I want that on Hard Knocks. I want Talking with TJ just with Dan Campbell and Ndamukong Suh as a weekly series.
Not even way back when. I'm pretty sure when he signed that contract to play in Miami, his first year there was when Joe Philbin was shown the door and Dan Campbell became the interim head coach.
Yeah. And Suh said some nice things about him. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
miss Suh.
It brought an attitude to this defense that again we haven't had since. Like yes, he was dirty at times, and I guess what I'm saying is I'm okay with a little dirty.
Yeah, if it's your guy, then it's fine. That's always been the value proposition of football. And if you don't think that's true, then I'm sorry. I've got plenty of bridge to sell you there.
And not to mention, really quick before we move on to the next question, like this coaching staff has said specifically it wants to do what the Rams do with their defensive front. And like Ryan said, well, who's your Aaron Donald? 2010 Ndamukong Suh is a pretty good replica. I'll take that.
Yep. All right, next question here from Obido at 2thorough_ on Twitter. Can Goff still be traded? We kind of touched on this earlier in the podcast, and that I think some Lions fans are trying to do this weird triangulation, Jeremy, where Goff plays just well enough that he then has value to be traded in the coming years, and you draft a quarterback that then, as you are trading Goff, that quarterback is ready to come in. And I just don't see it happening. I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it happened. I'm sure you could find some scenarios where that happens in the NFL. Let me tell you, trying to replicate that situation trying to make that situation artificially is damn near impossible. But and we talked about this last segment, if Jared Goff plays at a Pro Bowl level, you hold on to him. I feel like if Jared Goff plays at a Pro Bowl level again, you have greater chances that the quarterback you draft in the first round busts in 2 years than you do of Jared Goff regressing again.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And let's also just entertain the idea of trading him this year, trading him before he even walks in the building. Because I think there's still a subset of fans that hope that happened because he's got a big salary that the Lions are going to have to deal with, and they can unload basically all of it. And I get why that sounds appealing. I mean, you just talked about it. Like, the quarterback market right now is wacky as hell. You could trade Jared Goff and probably get at least a first, maybe more, from the Chicago Bears. Now, that would make things even more wacky because you're doing it in division. And yeah, like, I get the appeal of it, but the most important point is the Lions just aren't going to do it. They aren't. They like Jared Goff. He's going to be the quarterback in 2021. He's probably going to be the quarterback in 2022. They might have a rookie quarterback waiting in the wings by then, but it's not going to happen. And yeah, I mean, if you could somehow swing a 2 quarterback trade in one offseason and get 3 first-round picks out of it, I'm not going to hate it, but the fact remains the Lions like Jared Goff, and that's just a fantasy at this point. And I don't really like entertaining fantasies at this point because Jared Goff's your quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo Cordy Aaron just posted this in our Twitch chat, and I'm going to steal from him a little bit because it's definitely a thought I've had for weeks about this topic too, is that I feel like fans treat the game of the NFL like it's a game of Madden, that it's franchise mode in Madden, that these are just pieces and random number generators to be moved around on a board with no concern to what people think about your organization, to what they think about you, to what your words mean. This is an interpersonal business, and just doing Goff dirty. Who the hell wants to come play for the Lions if you're just randomly doing Goff dirty like that? That also flies in like half the stated goal of Lions ownership, front office, and coach to basically build better interpersonal relationships and a better culture in Detroit. You're just going to blow that all up just so you can get more lottery tickets. I don't think it's worth it.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, you can't turn off the team chemistry in this franchise mode. So that's it's an important point to point out, Chris.
Yeah, I don't see the triangulation happening. I know, again, there's been a lot of talk in Lions Twitter about this, and I'll say is like, just wait and see what Goff is in 2021. If he's not good, then I'll own up. He'll probably not be good. If he's good, then I think the Lions should be holding on to him.
But do you think anybody has ever had a tougher job than having to be the guy who has to replace Matthew Stafford?
Oh, it's an absolutely tough job, especially that we've already talked enough about the wide receivers. He's not going to have any of the weapons Stafford has. His main hope is that you're going to have TJ Hawkinson and maybe DeAndre Swift takes that step forward, and that you still have at least most of your offensive line there. But it's a rough ask.
Ryan, all he has to do is win a playoff game. Matthew Stafford didn't do that. He didn't even bring a playoff win here. He's garbage.
Why are you doing this? Mike Payton is rolling in his bed right now.
Jared Goff is a better quarterback because he's been to the Super Bowl.
Yep. I mean, facts. So the Lions could trade him and get 3 first-round picks. That's because he's better.
Hey, you want to know, like, the triangulation that Chris is talking about? Like, the Titans just traded their first-round pick from a year ago for a 7th-round pick swap.
Yeah. Yeah, that just happened while we were recording too. Yeah,
and there are so many people in the comments that are like, "Are you sure you're reporting this correctly?" And people are like, "Yeah." Like, have you missed the story about Isaiah Wilson?
Yeah, that's a disaster. That's what a disaster looks like.
That's an absolute disaster. Like, it's a sad disaster too. By the way, I don't usually do this on the recorded version of the podcast, but I do like this from our Twitch chat already. Somebody posts a snippet Jeremy just said and send it to Kelly Stafford.
She'll show up on my front door with a pair of clippers. Kick down my door. Shave old mustache.
Complain about how she's being imprisoned by the governor. Anyway, let's see here. Loaded Aries asking us, actually, let me get to the Loaded Aries question, and then I know we've got one more highlighted one here too. Loaded Aries, rather have the Lions draft the quarterback of the future or a hot new weapon in Pitts, Chase, etc. at number 7?
I mean, it obviously depends who's there at 7. I don't want the Lions trading up for a quarterback personally. I think you're trying to build that foundation, and starting it by sending away multiple firsts or whatever it takes to get up to 2 or 3 or wherever you're going, I don't think is the right way to go about it. That said, these 4 guys are all worthy of top 10 picks. These are good, talented quarterbacks in this year's draft. It's great. Brad Holmes wasn't lying when it's a good quarterback draft class. That all being said, I think there's a good chance they're all gone by number 7. And even if they aren't, even if there's one and you can pick out whoever it is, I'm more eager to get a weapon on offense. I'm more eager to get a Jamar Chase if he somehow falls to the Lions. You might be able to convince me into Kyle Pitts at this point, but I mean, at this point, I just think there's a bigger need at wide receiver. You can develop that a little bit quicker than you can a quarterback. You can get a little more immediacy out of that, rather than maybe pushing a quarterback a year or 2 down the line before he even sees the field. So I don't know. I want a wide receiver over a quarterback.
Are you doing that on purpose?
What's that?
Pissing off Ryan?
I'm engaging Ryan.
I'm not. Am I unengaged? Am I disengaged? What's going on? No, I'm in on Kyle Pitts. That's no secret to anybody. But I think if the Lions move on from Kenny Golladay, like, I wouldn't be mad if their reasoning for selecting somebody like Jamar Chase over Kyle Pitts was because, well, we really needed to upgrade the wide receiver position. Awesome, good. Like, you went out and got a guy who is, like, by definition, a wide receiver. Like, Kyle Pitts is a guy who, maybe he ends up being Evan Ingram. And is Evan Ingram worth a top, 10 pick at number 7? Probably not, right? But, like, that I think is Kyle Pitts' floor. Like, I think his floor is like Evan Ingram. And I think that he could be, so much better. So, that's kind of where I'm at with the Kyle Pitts thing. If the Lions move on from Kenny Golladay and they want to get a true wide receiver, then I wouldn't be mad at that either if that was their explanation or rationale.
Yeah, I think I've made myself clear that I don't think outside of Trevor Lawrence, there's no lock for any quarterback in this draft. And I am more than willing to step back from that ledge and find a hot new weapon or trade back and just start rebuilding mass pieces for your defense and your offense. I just think trade down is probably more likely than ever this year. And I don't hate the idea of trading down this year. I know Jeremy loves trading down, but I'm not always of the mind to always do it. I just think this is probably the year to do it because I'm not in love with any of these quarterbacks. I'm just not. I'm sorry. Like, I know we're starting to really get gassed up on Zach Wilson, but I just think outside of Trevor Lawrence, there's no one I have my eye on here. It's not even like guys are going under the radar like happened in that draft with Patrick Mahomes. It's just, I mean, again, Trey Lance played 1 game last year, and we already had questions about his arm. And Zach Wilson, I don't know what to do with. I just don't. He played at BYU. I don't know what to do with that. I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm an idiot. I don't know a lot of things. And I certainly don't know what to do with a quarterback who played at BYU and played a very weird year at BYU. Trade down.
We got him, Ryan. He's on our side now.
I'm all for it. Everybody knows we're all team trade down this year.
Pull the balloon. Drop the balloons. Chris's team trade down finally.
Woo! All right. Last question here, and then we'll wrap it up. This is from Nate Savage on Twitter. If the Lions cut Chase Daniel, who would you like to see as a backup, and what is the most likely vet or rookie? Do they keep 3 quarterbacks anymore since we do not have Iron Man Stafford?
This is a good question because we didn't really address this when we were talking about trading or cutting Chase Daniel. Go ahead.
Can I go for the second part first?
Yeah.
Because I was just looking up. Do you know how many quarterbacks New Orleans carried last year?
I mean, I don't know. No.
Are you counting Taysom Hill?
Yes.
That sham of a quarterback?
I'm counting Taysom Hill because he's still a body listed at quarterback. They had 4 on the roster. Drew Brees, Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, and Trevor Siemian. I bet you didn't even remember Siemian existed.
I try not to most days.
Yeah, so I just don't see as much as I know fans want to see us only go to like 2 quarterbacks, I still think they're going to carry 3. I don't know if that third is Blau or anything like that. I don't think it is Blau. I think they just bring in their own guys. Probably good chance that they're probably going to take a quarterback like late in the draft just to take a flyer on him, like a day 3 quarterback. And then probably a veteran. As for who that veteran is,
let me just throw out a hot take out here. I want the Lions to carry 2 quarterbacks, and I want those 2 quarterbacks to be David Blau and Jared Goff.
Okay.
I don't want him spending resources on a good backup quarterback is a luxury. I don't know why the hell the Lions did it with Chase Daniel. They shouldn't have. They certainly did not. They were not in a position to spend luxuriously on a backup quarterback, and they didn't even get a good one while they were at it. And to me, like, if you're looking for that quarterback that say you draft a quarterback this year, you want a veteran there to help teach him the ropes. You know who that guy is? That guy's Mark Brunell. That's your new quarterback's coach. Let him do his job.
Well, you know why they signed Chase Daniel last year, Jeremy. It was because they ran into the Stafford problems the year before.
Sure.
And they probably said, hey, we've tried drafting a litany of other quarterbacks and none of them have panned out. So let's get a veteran guy who can come in and compete. And also, I mean, like, it was their, like, in case of emergency,
Great.
like, emergency. Like, Stafford goes down. The Lions, like, need to win a game to be able to make the playoffs so Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia can save their job. Like, maybe Chase Daniel's that guy.
Or maybe he loses by 40 points to the Buccaneers. Great.
Either or. Either or.
Both are very possible. To happen.
But guess what? Either way, pay that man his money.
So, I mean...
So I just...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, looking at this year, like, I know everyone's saying it's time for the Fitz magic. I don't see that, to be honest. I think Fitzpatrick would come at a premium just because, like, he's at least done it as a starter in the regular season. I really have to qualify that. Are always early in the regular. Like, I feel like Fitzpatrick, maybe this is a hot take. I think you're going to end up paying more if you try to go Fitzpatrick than, say, like, Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, he was the name I was going to bring up. There's obvious connections to Anthony Lynn there, and he's a good player, and I know Ryan loves him. And but no, he's going to be too expensive. He's coming off a 2-year, $11 million deal.
Yeah, Tyrod.
I don't want $5.5 million a year on a backup quarterback right now. That's where you want to spend your cap resources? Absolutely not. Jared Goff, David Blau, who cares?
He might not even be a backup. I think there might be some teams out there just going to look at Tyrod and like, look, man, you got treated unfit. You had some damn bad luck. Again, there's enough quarterback starved teams out there. Like, what are they? What are the 49ers going to do at quarterback if this is true that Jimmy Garoppolo is going back to New England?
Nick Mullins, baby. Choo choo.
Nick Mullins. Like, Tyrod Taylor and Fitzmagic could both go at a premium.
Yeah.
As starters.
I saw a mock draft where the 49ers moved up to get Mac Jones, and I was like, wow. You move on from Jimmy G to get Mac Jones.
I work for Mac Jones.
So, Jeremy, quarterback is completely off the board at number 7 for you?
No, not necessarily. I just at this point I'd prefer a shiny new weapon for Jared Goff because I just think that the team, based on where I think the team's head is at, I think they might have a future with Jared Goff, and so let's at least try that. Even though I know, like, I also, like, I want to make clear, like, I do think this is a talented quarterback class, and if they decide, like, this is our guy, and that's the thing, like Dan Campbell said, it has to be unanimous. We have to all be on board saying, this is our guy. If half of us aren't sure, he's not our guy. But if there is that guy that's out there, whether it be any of those top 4 guys, then yeah, go get him. Like I said, you're in a unique spot this year where you got a top 10 pick. You got plenty of draft picks in the future. You can afford to roll the dice on a young quarterback, and you have a bridge quarterback already here, so you don't have to start him right away, which is how Anthony Lynn apparently wants it. So it works out that way. But personally, I'm just on board with grabbing a weapon, having Jared Goff ride out the year, and if he's down, then oh no, we have to play David Blau, and instead of being 4-13, we're going to be 2-15 or whatever. Like, oh no.
That's where we're going to end it, with Jeremy talking about guys grabbing a weapon and riding. It's where we always want to end it. Thank you for listening to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. As we wrap up here, once again, download the podcast. Join us live on Twitch and YouTube, and have fun with us here. And as always, we sign off by telling you, see you Starside. Sorry, we were going long there, so I just wanted to kind of
we did
wrap that thing.
I can tell how long we did because
27 minutes.
I have to definitely go back 22 minutes to some alerts that happened during that podcast.
Yeah, real quick before you do that, let me hit our super chat if I can.
Sure.
Take care of that for you.
Yeah.
So Apex Predator with $5 on YouTube says he's got to head to work. Just want to send some support. Looking forward to every stream. Y'all do great work. Thank you, Apex.
He is our superstar supporter over there on YouTube, so we appreciate it. And he or she, I should say. I don't know what Apex Predator. I don't know what gender that predator
non-gendered.
is. Yes. Yeah, and then on the Twitch side of things, our Nick resubbed for the second month in a row. He says, just subbed again to you guys. Love all your content. Keep up the good work, boys. By the way, I miss Ryan's stash already. It's still there. It's just got some company now.
Yeah, it's got some company. I'm sorry. I'm not as committed as Jeremy is.
I do like when I can get to the super chat stuff because A, I see it, and B, it gives me something to talk about YouTube besides seeing you guys like still not realize you can't just spam caps. Please, guys, stop spamming caps. We're not changing the bot. You have a caps lock. You can turn it off.
Zion TD used a Twitch Prime sub for the second month. He says, love the content. Random thought, what's Ryan thinking of the Wings right now? And what does he think of Bertuzzi's injury?
Who asked that question?
Zion TD. Is he a friend of yours?
No, I have a feeling like that's a very pointed question that I would get from one of my friends. So yeah, the Wings are
bad,
just not good. They're just not good. Like
the Red Wings.
Yeah, there's just not much. There's not much to write home about them right now. And
are you happy to see Blake Griffin go bye-bye?
Why are people acting like that's moving the needle at all for Brooklyn? Like, has anybody seen Blake Griffin play over the past year?
Are people just assume he's going to go back to dunking over Kias or whatever.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry, but that's nothing more than a towel waiver on a playoff bench.
How many dunks has he had in? I saw this amazing stat, and I have to go look it up. He's had only one dunk in the past 3 years or something. Blake Griffin.
Yeah, and everybody got really upset with me when I was a big opponent of the trade because I was like, what, you want to go out and get a guy whose best asset are his knees and he plays basketball? Like, that's what you want to do?
Well, and I think that looking at it in hindsight, and a lot of people I think were saying, maybe not a lot, but some people were saying it at the time, is just like the Pistons were not ready for that move. Like, they weren't ready to add a big, talented veteran who only has a couple of years because the rest of the team is shit. You know how I've been saying the Bears should not let Ryan Pace empty the cupboard for a quarterback. That's basically what Stan Van Gundy did with the Pistons to get Blake Griffin.
I think that that trade had ownership written all over it too, because Gores is just, he's insufferable. I don't know if he does more harm than good for the, but that was the thinking, Jeremy, is the consensus was, why are the Pistons trading for a superstar when they are not a superstar away from being a contender?
Right.
But something,
and also Blake Griffin is your superstar?
Well, yeah, I mean, something underlying that was you are signing on for however many years of this guy when his best asset is something that deteriorates with every player who isn't LeBron James.
I guess I just never viewed Griffin as a superstar too. I just viewed him as one of those pieces on a very good team-oriented squad in the Clippers, because they had CP3, and that was Doc Rivers' style, was to have a bunch of interlocking parts that all work together. I never saw Blake Griffin as like the straw that stirred the drink to make it all work.
Yeah,
I saw that in CP3, maybe.
Maybe Blake Griffin can finally fulfill his destiny as being the like 5th best player on an NBA championship team.
So
he does remain the first best player that was on Broad City. Though.
Broad City?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
You knew right where I was going.
So this was written back in January on The Ringer. Dating back to last season before his latest surgery, he's gone 12 games and counting without a single slam. So that would have been longest dunkless streaks of Blake Griffin's career from December of 2019 to at least when was this written? January 12th, 2021. He hadn't had a single dunk.
It's pretty impressive. And that trade got exactly what the pessimists thought it would. It got the Pistons to mediocrity for a couple of years, where they would make a playoff appearance and not win a playoff game and not have a great draft pick. And of course they got some bad lottery luck as well, but
yeah. I don't want to get too much into it, but it seems like the Tigers have the like brightest future of any Detroit sports team right now,
which terrifies me because
I remember
Torkelson.
I don't think I just said this on a show, bingo card here time, on an FSR show the other week, but I actually had people calling in to agree with me, so I will take that as a victory. But like, we were talking about worst pain ever suffered as a sports fan, and for me it's still the 2013 ALCS. And I bring that up to say that 8 years later I'm still not over the 2013 ALCS. I can't watch the Tigers without thinking about Big Papi just wrecking our shit.
I just think about that that juxtaposition of like Torrey Hunter's legs up and the security guard's arms going up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's etched. I shared this on air, but like I was in an Outback Steakhouse in Savannah, Georgia.
I don't think that's anything you should tell anybody.
No, watching game. I don't remember which game it was, but it was in Boston for that game where Torrey Hunter flipped up there, and I had an elderly British couple basically watch. That were talking with me because it was Savannah, Georgia. They wanted to see all the historic stuff, but they couldn't understand why I was just dying watching this baseball game, because all they thought is like, how can you get upset about anything other than soccer? And I'm like, you don't understand. You just don't. I am like head in my hands and like they're just looking at me like I'm an alien. They don't understand why I'm losing my mind.
Jeremy, have you ever seen Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson?
Yeah.
So what Chris just brought up made me think of that scene where Sam is talking to Susie, and Susie's like, I wish I was an orphan because your lives are so much more like exciting than our lives are, like so much more magnificent. And then like Sam just looks at Susie, he's like, I love you, but you do not know what you're talking about.
So why are you thinking about that for me? Just like
because they don't know, because a lot of people think like
I thought you were going back to the Outback Steakhouse for a second. I was trying to hear it
kind of, but it's the whole like Jim Rome thing where it's like, give me an A or give me an F, and it's like the people with the Fs, no, you don't want the Fs. The Fs are bad.
Yeah,
the Fs are really bad.
Oh my God!
But I was gonna say, like, I think another bingo sheet card for this podcast is just bringing up horrible Detroit sports memories.
But that one tops it for me. Like 24. Well, okay, no, that is like 2014. The flag being picked up is number one with a bullet. Yeah. But then not far behind it, I would even say 1A is the 2013 ALCS. I love football. It's my number one sport. But there is no, and I know you guys are going to say hockey, but there is no postseason that is more constantly for 4 fucking hours, nerve-wracking, destroying your psyche than watching a baseball playoff series. I'm sorry. Like, all that dead time between pitches, and a pitch can completely, it's not just a one score that will change the game in baseball. He could get multiple scores. It's hockey. When they score, it only goes up by 1 point.
Yeah, well, I
Bobby
don't know.
changed it by 4 points.
I see all that, and I raise you the Detroit Red Wings being up 3-2 against the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2009, and then losing back-to-back game 2-1.
That was bad too.
I remember exactly where I was in Game 7. Exactly. And I remember the mad flurry in front of the net as the clock was running down.
Lidstrom, the shot from the point, yeah.
Yeah, you get it, Aaron Nick. Like, it's that... And especially when you have good-ass pitchers in baseball, like, good-ass pitchers and then going to a shitty bullpen. And you're just sitting there, like, you would just watch Verlander pitch a gem, and it's being handed over to
Phil Koch.
Phil Koch.
Phil Koch's brain.
And you're just like, oh my God, we're fucking done.
Jose Valverde, just riding that roller coaster was always great.
Jose Valverde's so bad that we thought Phil Koch was our savior in 2012.
Yeah. I will say, and yeah, you're right. I do think hockey trumps it a little bit, but I will say the closest thing to come to overtime playoff hockey is like eighth inning and beyond of almost any baseball playoff game, because it's theatrics with all the time in between plays,
and it's just you're hanging on every pitch, and again, like, so much. If there's more than one runner on a base, then it's just really spicy.
Yeah.
What was 2014? Yeah, it was an ALDS versus the Orioles. I don't remember much of that because, again, like, I was out by then. Like, I knew we were still in our prime and getting pieces, but I was still broken from the Red Sox.
This has turned into a list cast of sorts, but Ryan, I'm going to say 2 words, and you're going to have to tell me if it's top 5 or not. And I'm pretty sure your answer is going to be yes, but Robert Horry?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why Robert Horry hurts more than a lot of things is because it's one of my favorite NBA player of all time is Rasheed Wallace. And like, Rasheed Wallace committed the number one sin in basketball by forgetting the inbounder when it's Robert fucking Horry.
I love Sheed, but I'll never forgive him for that.
Yeah, but that Spurs series really hurt because it felt like so many things were heading in the right direction, and then things kind of just fell apart. What are some other really bad losses?
Cordy Aaron brings up still with that Tigers run there, getting swept by the Giants in the World Series in 2012.
Ostensibly getting swept in 2006 when they were like the team of destiny.
Yeah,
by the St. Louis Cardinals when David Eckstein was the World Series MVP.
I guess, but I guess I was maybe used to that with the Cardinals. The Giants though, they were basically doing that even number odd number year bullshit, but it hadn't really turned into a pattern yet. In that I'm sitting there like, the Giants fucking suck, and they've been getting lucky their entire all these series. There's no way. And yes, there was way.
Now, my buddy, How Am I Not Myself, in chat says the Pistons loss was way worse than Lions versus Cowboys, which I find offensive personally, because one, the Pistons were coming off of they just won, right, the championship the year before. Yeah. That was a chance at back-to-back. The Lions were looking at their first playoff win in more than a decade, almost 20 years at that point. Maybe it was 20 years by that point. I mean,
oh yeah,
and we're just talking this. I know the stakes are a lot higher in the basketball game, but they were so much more important, I think, to the Lions. Just a single playoff win was that close, and Lions haven't come anywhere near as close since. We don't know when that's ever going to come.
Well, I'll say this: I don't know when the Pistons are ever going to be good again either, just because of the dynamics of the NBA. Let's see here. Uncle Indigo, Tigers sat too long before playing the Cardinals. They did the same thing for the Giants. They sat for like a week while the Giants were like fighting for their life against the Cardinals. Or was it the Nationals? It was the Cardinals. Yeah, and then now everyone's bringing up Madison Bumgarner and Pablo Sandoval and just, oh God. Joey 2 times in YouTube. I'm old enough to remember the Chris Webber timeout.
I'm not, but
I've seen the documentary.
That's a blunder.
It's a good one.
I mean, it was right before like hockey took over my life, but like I probably would have I probably would have died 1,000 deaths watching the Avalanche beat the Red Wings in '96, especially after like the Draper hit and everything.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Paul Edinger, that's another good one. Knocking the Lions out of playoff contention and paving the way for Matt Millen.
Wasn't a I don't think any playoffs were involved, but
Why are we doing this, by the way?
because it's fun. It's getting out the demons, and I'm about to get out one more demon with 2 words. Matt Flynn.
That one doesn't hurt, honestly. That was just a
It
funny.
doesn't?
No, there was nothing on the line in that game, was there? Oh, were they in for the playoff spot? I don't even remember. Was that?
It was for the NFC North.
Why wasn't Aaron Rodgers injured?
I think so.
No, I think they were sitting. I think they sat Aaron Rodgers. I think the Lions had a playoff spot on the line, but not the division on the line.
What year was that?
20. I don't know. Matt Flynn.
While you guys are throwing that up, I'll throw one in for Sparty just to remind them they've had some pain too. I still the
2014?
The Notre Dame Michigan State game that made Mike Valenti lose his mind.
Yeah, make plays.
It was a 2011 season.
2011 would have been the year that they played the Saints.
Yeah.
So they were on the line to move up from wild card to NFC North.
Was the division on the line for that game?
I know the division was on the line for 2016, right? When they played in Week 17 at Ford Field.
Yeah,
that game sucked.
Hold on, let me look at what the Packers' record was. At the
time. Aaron is saying would have been 11-5 and played the Giants instead of the Saints.
Gotcha. Yeah, the Packers were 15-1 that year, so it wasn't for the division. So,
well, it would have been better to play the Giants and the Saints at the Superdome.
Sure, but I mean, I know I just spouted off about how a playoff win is important to this franchise, but that team wasn't going anywhere. It doesn't hurt that much. It's embarrassing, but it's not heartbreaking.
Well, maybe if Matthew Stafford would have won a playoff game, he wouldn't have wanted to leave.
I do agree that it's funny.
One
that
playoff
Matt
win
Flynn,
10 years ago would have changed his mind.
I do agree that it's funny
recapture that magic.
I do agree that it's funny that Matt Flynn spun that game into getting how many contracts, how much money.
Stupid.
Stupid.
I know people are like, "Oh, Detroit sports are just pain." Let me tell you something, man. You dig deep enough, you'll find this in any sports town too, though. Like,
but they have good stories to go along with it.
That's true.
Detroit doesn't have a lot. I mean, they had the Wings for how many championships did they get? 4?
I don't think Cleveland has a lot of good stories besides maybe the Cavs. But it took a long time for the Cavs to be a good story.
So since 1984, this state has had 5 championship teams.
No.
Pistons 3 times.
Pistons 3 times. Sorry, yes. I missed the earlier 2 Pistons.
Tigers.
No,
so
Tigers.
8. Well, 1984. 1984, they won the World.
Well, yeah, that's why I said since 1984.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not a lot doing for them Tigers or Lions over that time.
3 NBA titles is better than nearly every city not named Boston or Los Angeles.
87. So what are we talking about? We're talking
or Chicago
or San Antonio.
25-ish years. Wait, no, 35-ish years. No, more than that. 30.
I mean, Chicago
37.
just got
37.
theirs.
37 years.
I will say this about Chicago: they got theirs very concentrated, and as the years go by, it's very clear they're never going to have that again.
Hopefully. F Boston.
in any sport.
I was going to say the Blackhawks dynasty died real fast.
I saw somebody the other day on Twitter saying, like, I will forever hate Michigan for them ending that old ladies March Madness run for Loyola Chicago. What was her name? Like Sister Jean.
Oh, yeah. Sister Jean.
Yeah.
I just hate Chicago. Like, it is the most, like, I try not. It's not even like a Wings Blackhawks thing or like a Bears Lions thing. It just feels like every team and all of their fans. I just despise that city and its sports culture. I hate it so much, and I can't put my finger on why. Maybe I think it's the arrogance that they think they're better than the rest of the Midwest.
Yeah. All right. I think it's about time to wrap things up. Chat's getting a little quiet. We've just had a bucket of sadness that we can all go to bed with now.
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive for the Blackhawks, though. Like, sorry, I'm reading something from Bad Luck. 3 cups in 9 years. That's impressive in the salary cap era, but still, screw them.
Chat on Twitter. Let's go raid Carry-On Johnson, who is currently streaming. I have no idea if he's interacted with this chat. I don't know if he'll see it, because last time we did Tyler Crosby and he did not notice at all. But this should be fun. Let's see if oh wait, that's not his. What's his name? It's like Ayoko. I don't know what it means. Oh, Darius Slay is also. Should we go former Lion or current Lion?
Let's go with Carry On.
Let's go with Carry On. Let me see if he's got like a cam. Oh, he does have a cam, so he might actually.
Everyone tell Carry On to come on the Pride of Detroit POD cast.
Why is that weird? Okay. All right. We're going to go raid him. Until next time, we appreciate you guys. We're probably going to do a locker room midweek this week, because the next podcast is going to be Saturday. We're still working out on a time on that to do a free agency preview, because next Monday the tampering period starts, and by the time we jump on the podcast, everything's going to be out of date. So Saturday podcast this week. We'll do some locker room in sometime this week. Be sure to check us out on Twitter. Follow us on Locker Room at Pride of Detroit, and you'll get notifications when we go live. All right. Let's go raid Carry On Johnson if you're here on Twitch. If you're not here on Twitch, I think it's twitch.tv/AYEYoKEJO. You're not going to remember that. Whatever. But head to our Twitch channel if you're on YouTube and you want to see it. We appreciate you guys.
Yo, a letter.
Yeah, what? Ayo Kijo. Carry On Johnson. Ayo Kijo. Anyways, appreciate y'all. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.